Hey, good morning. It's a beautiful morning indeed. Slight breeze, but fine. I want us to talk about four things basically. Sorry about that. I'm sorry about the interruption. The first issue I want us to talk about is one, there is presently no government mandated group running with any CRL rights or any regulation related agenda. There is none. There is none. We are all interest groups. Anybody talking anti-regulation, anybody talking regulation, anybody taking self-regulation is an interest group. The last time government spoke about regulation, the last time Parliament spoke about regulation was February 2018, when the COGTA Portfolio Committee in Parliament rejected the civil rights, the old commission's recommendations. And they said, we support a process where there is a national consultative process. They never said who should drive that process. They said where is the national consultative process which will look into what the churches want. The least we expect from that is them to come up with a code of conduct which is voluntary, that will hold the Christian or the religious community accountable. Don't forget what we said yesterday. Part of the problem is, are we talking the regulation of the church, which is what everybody thinks it is, or the regulation of religion? And if you are talking regulation of religion, why don't you hear any talk on how Islam is going to be? Is there going to be any code of conduct from the Muslim community? Is there going to be any code of conduct from the Hindu community? Is there going to be any code of conduct from the traditional healers? Because we asked a very important question yesterday. We said, if we are talking regulation of the church, then we should have no church-affiliated people come into these meetings. We don't understand why, if it's about the regulation of the church, what are the Hindus and the Muslims and the Baha'is and the Scientologists and the Sangomas doing there? But if we're talking about the regulation of religion, why is nobody talking anything about other aspects of religion except church affiliation and pastors' fraternals? We need to be careful of what you talk about. So let me reiterate. Parliament said, go on a national consultative process without interference from the Civil Rights Commission. That means government did not see a situation where they would bind themselves as a secular state to any religious discourse, communication. So be aware that anyone's voice matters. That is why we said to you, the Anti-Regulation of Religion Summit, we have gone around the country. We have done our own consulting because we're an interest group. Any group is an interest group. There is no single official group. Every interest group is forging its own agenda. And what we did is, after we have gone around, we've been around, we went to Klerksdorp, Mangaung, we've gone to Ekurhuleni, we are going around, and now we are going to KZN, and we shall be back in the Vaal. What we did is, we met in agreement with the parliamentary recommendation. We brought together a large group of people, especially in Ekurhuleni, a large group of people. There were hundreds of preachers there. We came together and we did the Albertine Declaration, which is a code of conduct, which is in line with the parliamentary. After we consulted with people who represent our ideology, we petitioned Parliament. We have written a petition which lists our objections and which forges a way forward. We served that petition to the Civil Rights Commission out of courtesy. We sent a copy of that to the then Kokda Minister, Dr. Zweli Mkhize, and we have followed up with the Chief of Staff now that please, there's a new minister in, Honorable Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, please give a copy of that. So where we are as an interest group, our voice is represented where it matters. We are not saying do not participate in any other forum. We are saying, one, be aware that anybody talking regulation, whether they are pro or anti or neutral, they're just an interest group. Two, the issue I want us to talk about is, the second issue I want us to talk about is freedom of association. It is good to participate in any form of fellowship in your city. You can participate in your pastors' fraternals. You can participate in umbrella body. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of umbrella bodies. The AFM is an umbrella body to the AFM ministers. The Assemblies of God is an umbrella body. And there are other umbrella bodies. There is the IFCC, SACC, NCC. There are a lot of them. It's good to participate in that as long as you realize that it's on a voluntary basis. Nobody should be forced, constitutionally speaking, to belong to any umbrella body. You may not be coerced, you may be forced, because freedom of association is your constitutional right. Nobody can come knocking on your door. I remember when I went to Bloemfontein, somebody came to me and said, now, have the gatekeepers welcome. I said, I didn't see any gates as I came into Bloemfontein. I just rode into N1, via N1, I rode into Nelson Mandela, and I started looking for the places. No, you're supposed to go via the gatekeepers. The gatekeeper concept is neither spiritual nor legal. I set up ministry there. Every city you have gone to. I remember one evangelist went to the Val, and the Val pastors fraternal, they sent a delegation there to ask him who gave him permission. They have no such right to ask you. Freedom of association is a constitutional right. You have as much freedom to associate as you have to not associate. And also, you have the freedom to dissociate. If you have joined any pastor's fraternal and you feel that I didn't want to do this, I was forced into it, you may quit. I went to the Soweto Ministers Fraternal. It was a beautiful atmosphere there. And I realized that it's purely voluntary. There are a lot of ministers around, major ministers around Soweto that I did not see there. And it's a good thing. And maybe because I'm a Soweto minister, I'm thinking of joining them again on the 21st of August, especially since they promised that we shall talk about regulation or anti-regulation. It's voluntary. Nobody can say close your church down because you don't belong to, because there is no way in the South African law books that any minister is forced to belong to a fraternal. That is why when the previous Civil Rights Commission recommended to Parliament that no, every church should belong to an umbrella body. The umbrella bodies should belong to peer review structures, and the peer review structures should report to the Civil Rights Commission. Parliament says that's unconstitutional. That's unworkable. That's unnecessary. You have a right to associate as much as you have a right not to associate or to dissociate. Those three mean different things. The third thing, the Protection of Personal Informations Act says, nobody just willy-nilly can knock on the door and say, nah, give us the church constitution, give us the church bank statements. Nobody has the right to do that unless they have a court order. The Civil Rights Commission, the local pastors fraternal, have no right to come knocking on the door and say, no, we want to see your pastor's diploma, we want to see your ordination letter. Nobody has a right to do that. I've been carrying, we were laughing about it last week with my wife and children. I've been carrying an ordination license in my wallet for decades. I've never shown to anybody except my wife and kids. We are a group of 14 missionaries in a group. Not even any of the missionaries know who ordained me. None of them know, because it's none of their business. I carry my own ordination, a certificate and license, actually it's a license in my wallet, for years, and nobody has the right to demand that if it does not interest them. Because we believe that, one, the law protects rights. And if those rights did not matter, there will no need to come with laws that protect them. Anybody who does not have a concept of constitutional democracy, anyone who does not come from a culture of human rights, will never understand what you're trying to say to them. So the Pastors Fraternal, Civil Rights Commission, they can't knock on your door and say, give us your donations. There is no law in South Africa that says churches should be registered non-governmental organizations. There is no law. Because biblically speaking, any group of people who come in the name of the Lord is in their midst. And constitutionally speaking, freedom of association is enshrined there. And according to the Constitution, there is no recognition of God. There is no recognition of the Bible as a holy book. So you cannot be forced to divulge personal information. That is why don't worry about anybody making stupid noises out there. Nobody has a right to go to UNISA, Medunsa, University of California, University of Australia, and demand proof of your qualifications without your consent. Anybody who goes to anybody who's gone to school will understand that. Anybody who has gone out there will understand that consent, the institution must get a consent form unless anybody authorized to do so has a court order. If the FBI were investigating you and the FBI wanted proof of your qualifications and proof of your citizenship and proof of all that, they would have to get a court order. Nobody can access. Otherwise, anybody could just access your telephone conversations. Anybody could access your WhatsApp conversations. Anybody could rock up at MTN and say, give me a printout of all the calls that's made. You need a court order. That's point number 3. You need a court order to give people access to your personal information. And I think it has been played out. Don't forget about the noise. No, forget about the noise. We don't talk about the noise. We talk about law. Let the dogs. We're not driven by noise. We're driven by the law. Stay on those 3 things and remember that you have a right. The 4th thing I want to talk about is at any time you feel any of your rights violated, anytime. If you feel victimized by a local authority, if you feel victimized by the Pastors Fraternal, if you feel victimized by the Civil Rights Commission, if you feel victimized by anybody, you have a right to report. Some of us choose not to report because it doesn't matter. But then you have a right. Those 4 things, I want you to carry those 4 things as a minister of the gospel in your area, as a Christian, as a believer, as a home cell leader, in the eyes of the Lord. A home cell leader has as much status as a mega church. They would never matter. So remember those things and do not let anybody bully you in any way. This is Dr. Shimi Chi Aubagwe Kotu. Till next time. Our next meeting is 17th August in Newcastle. And the next meeting is 24th September in the Val. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.